Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, good morning. I'm from the East Coast, of course, because it's deep afternoon. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to speak today. I want to start off by thanking the National Voting Rights Task Force for pulling us together. And I want to thank Dale Axelrod, who wrote me 2 days after we had a August 7th commemoration, planning and strategy conference on voting rights. And it was a commemoration of the National Voting Rights Act of 1965. And he said, I saw you on the live stream, and I want to make sure that you come and join us for our upcoming conference. And I was happy to do that because our communities, the election security community and the voting rights, voter justice, activist community aren't close enough. And part of our challenge is changing that. And so I am here because that's so fundamental. I also want to thank Carl Carter, who was magnificent in working with me on flights, which were not easy to make happen given all my travel here and there. I want to thank Richard Tam for picking me up at, try this everyone, 11 p.m. last night. And bringing me to my hotel and making sure that everything was good. And I want to thank Jim Soper for talking with me about this formation, about the conference, its background, all of that in preparation. You see, I love Oakland because I lived here. I was raised here for my 5th and 6th grade. My school, Cold Street Elementary, is now a community center. My home was right across from the Coca-Cola bottling company. And when the freeway, the Cypress Freeway, collapsed during the mighty earthquake, my home was one of the homes that was destroyed during that time. So when I come back to Oakland, I'm coming home. Because my grandfather lived just a few blocks from here in Berkeley. So this is always a good time. But I also want to take a moment. You see, our community gets down a lot. Because when you hear all these formidable forces that we're fighting, it's easy for us to say, this fight is way too hard, or it's too difficult, or we can't penetrate, or we can't win. And I just want to remind people that tomorrow is the birthday, the 102nd birthday for Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer should tell us everything that we need to know about how we persevere and how we succeed in hard times. Because remember, she was born a sharecropper. She was not educated on purpose because they wanted to keep African Americans in this new form of sharecropping slavery by keeping them undereducated. She was kicked off of her farm plantation for getting involved in the voter registration, voting rights movement. We forget that that's not the real story of her tragedy. Because we remember, LBJ in 1965 talking about that woman, that illiterate woman, that he didn't want to be on TV fighting for the Mississippi Freedom Party. But what we also don't know is that the state of Mississippi considered her such a threat that when she went in for a routine surgery, they involuntarily sterilized her. So there would be no more like her. We forget that when she was beaten viciously for hours by police officers when she was beaten, and they actually forced 2 black officers to beat her. One, they said, beat her for an hour prior because he was forced. That kidney damage that she incurred in that moment led to her premature death at 59 years of age. That we got to understand, I was listening to, I do a radio show every Tuesday out of Washington, D.C. for, from 12 to 1 called Igniting Change, and Dr. Fonzie Brown Wright, who was the first black woman ever elected in Mississippi to office in 1968, talked about working alongside Fannie Lou Hamer. So when we start today, as we continue to move forward, we need to be sure to take into account her admonition to all of us that this little light of mine, I'm going to make it shine, right? I'm going to let it shine all over this world. So that is what we're trying to do here. That is our mission. That is our requirement. You see, I headed up the Lawyers Committee for 25 years. And during that time, we had our usual paradigm of fighting election theft, fighting election problems constantly. And we were suing all over the South, mainly some areas of the Midwest, but mainly the South. And we were suing for judicial elections to make sure that African Americans were on the judiciary. We were suing to make sure that states like North Carolina, Florida, etc., had African Americans in state legislatures at all levels. We did all of these suits. And we did all of our work with the Justice Department and others. And then, of course, came 2000, and everything changed. Because NAACP versus Harris was the case that we filed after the Bush versus Gore madness as it was happening. And I will tell you that that moment was transformative in my life. Because I realized that everything that we had done for years, that we were so proud of, that we had fought so hard for, was not enough. And that actually we had to totally change our paradigm of thinking as the voting rights community. And to hear the testimony in the NAACP Harris versus Harris, where they had 91,000 votes that were denied because of mismatches. Many of us have heard about cross-checking. We've heard about these other things, but this was an early form of that, basically where they knocked out any black person, mostly black people, who they thought were duplicate voters. And we got on into the discovery and found out that the very company that was running the program told Patricia Harris that they were going to end up knocking out innocent people. And she said, I don't care. Go ahead and do it. And that's what we keep dealing with. So we created election protection out of that entire time. But that wasn't enough, because everybody got overjoyed in 2008 when Obama was elected. And OFA was very proud of itself and thought that it should dominate elections, etc., organizing. And many of you will recall that there was a new mantra in the country. What was it called?
Best we can.
Yeah, there was another one. Post-racial. So in 2010, when 30-something legislatures became solidly Republican and started passing in 2011, as soon as they took office, over 100 started working on over 100 voter restriction laws. Nobody wanted to hear that we had a problem. When I created Oakland, I give credit again, because Quinn Delaney was head of Abenaki Foundation. I came here and met with her in March and showed her what was happening in the States and gave her, some graphs showing her all of this. And she said, Barbara, this is really problematic, but most people aren't going to get it. They're not going to understand it. We got to do something. We got to organize, etc. And I went home and I was miserable, and my son saw me sitting at the table doing what I do. Well, I don't know if others of you do, but I just sit at the table and moan and groan. And he saw his mother moaning and groaning, and he said, Mom, what is wrong? And I said, I can't get anybody to understand what's happening. I got so many issues, so on and so on. And he says, Mom, you need a map. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you need a map. He said, because if you can show people clearly on the map where all this is happening, they'll understand better. You can color code it, you can make it interactive, you can list all what's going on underneath the interactions in each state. I said, really? The next day I went to my office, I looked at my staff, and I said, I need a map! And they proceeded to work with me on creating the map, what became known as the map of shame. If you Google it, you'll see it, the map of shame of voter suppression. And what was so important was that literally was the beginning of our entire movement against voter suppression. In fact, when the map came out, I got messages through several channels from Democrats operations telling me to STFU. And I said, really? And they said, yes, shut up. Stop talking that. You're destroying the veneer or rationale for our president. You can't do that. And I said, oh, really? And that year I gave 100 speeches. The next year I would give 120 speeches about what was going on with voter suppression. I had passed out to you the 61 forms of voter suppression. It's outdated already because North Carolina just came up with something new last week. And I said, oh my goodness, I have to keep updating it. If you have seen this list 6 months ago, it had been 30 forms because these states are so determined to deny the right to vote to people. Each of those actions on the 61 forms is a crime. You see, we need to think differently about how we describe this fight. Because this is vote theft. It is a purposeful and deliberate effort, scheme, conspiracy, operation, whatever you call it, to take away and deny people the right to vote and to have their vote counted as they wanted to cast. That's a crime scene. When you look at Georgia, you're looking at a crime scene. When you look at Texas, you're looking at a crime scene. Alabama, all of these places where these active voter suppression efforts are taking place, those are crime scenes. They are not just, quote, bad people doing bad stuff. The TJC, we have several levels of operation. We have the Voting Rights Alliance, which is an organization of 35 different organizations, plus individuals who care about the vote, and we work all across the country. We also do a Gen Z and Millennial Votes Matters training event. We're about to train 50 young people in Alabama to be voting rights champions. In November, we'll be doing that training. We also run the National Commission for Voter Justice with Reverend Jesse Jackson and Reverend Bush, and we've been doing hearings, electoral reform, litigation, reports, voter registration, etc. And last year, a donor called me up, a personal donor, and said, Barbara, you got to come to North Carolina because we have serious problems in the Sandhills region, which is North Carolina Congressional 8 and North Carolina Congressional 9. And can you help us because the African American vote is being intimidated? I called some activists in North Carolina and said, I'm going to Moore County, I'm going to be in Bladen, I'm going to be in Anson, I'm going to be in Richland, I'm going to be in Cumberland, I'm going to be in all of these different counties. And they said, you're a fool, you're going to get killed. They said, don't you know they kill blacks who are activists down there? And you can't do that. You're going to be in deep trouble. And I said, it's okay. You forget, I lived in North Carolina for 10 years. I went to Duke for law school and practiced for 7. I understand the state. And I worked in every area of that state. And they said, yeah, but you know, they lynch people. They have a planned day that they still do for 3 days in Moore County. I said, I'm quite aware. And they said, okay, if you say so, like, go ahead. But we had a wonderful program that we were able to run and that we were able to do to increase the African American vote. But that's the kind of investment that you won't see being done by the parties because they've already written it off. Written off those black voters. Written them off. So, moving forward, what do we need to do? Here's the quick take. Of course, we need to pass H.R. 1, H.R. 4, and we need to also do a better version of 1540, the Election Security Act of 2019. You know that $600 million is a joke, right? It's totally insufficient for what we need. Mitch McConnell talking about $250 million is also, without any kind of standards, is a total joke. The first thing we need to do, besides that, is that we need to connect the election security community to people of color grassroots voter justice movement. In Cobb County, they had a hearing a few weeks ago. One of the activists from Georgia called me up and said, Barbara, they got this hearing, I need to testify. What should I say to them? What kind of things do I talk to them about? Now, I'm not Bob, and I'm not, some of the election security experts, but I gave her just a few ideas. She turned out to be the only person of color who spoke at that hearing, as they're getting ready to roll out a model program. Why is that? Because nobody else had the confidence to stand up, had the information, had the preparation. We can do better. We must connect. 2, we need to invest in and support indigenous, on-the-ground, black, brown, First American, Asian groups and activists. I'm sick of parachuting people in. People who come in and don't know the neighborhoods, don't know where they're going, can't even find the streets, locations, and they're good-hearted, they want to help people vote, they do their best, but the reality is that when they're finished, they leave, and the communities are left with nothing, and no permanent, ongoing infrastructure, which we got to do. So that's why we need to support groups like, Black Voters Matters, like Natasha Brown's group that's doing all the good work in the South. We need to fight voter suppression with everything that we have. We've been talking about the Ohio purge, but guess what? Oklahoma has a higher level of purge. And nobody. I had to read an article in a paper and say, wait a minute, what are they talking about? Oklahoma's getting ready to put on the inactive list over 243,000 people after having purged 88,000 in April. And I called the NAACP and said, what's going on, folks? Why isn't anybody raising Cain about this? And they said, we don't know. We hadn't heard of it. That's what's going on. If we don't organize fights everywhere, if we're not strong and invested seriously to fight voter suppression in all of its many forms, especially voter purging, then we lose. Because all they had to do was, put out a press release, do some talking, and we got some stuff put on hold for a while. 4, stop the over-obsession with white moderates and the undervaluing of the black base. Black women are the strongest cohort of voters in this country, and we underinvest in. And we need to do more of that. Same for Latinos, First Americans, Asians. 5th, build permanent independent voting rights infrastructure. Build permanent independent voting rights infrastructure. Permanent. Independent of the parties and candidates. Independent of the parties and candidates. 6, build permanent independent voting rights infrastructure. Permanent. Independent of the parties and candidates. Independent of the parties and candidates. 7, that thinks for voters from the time that they're cognitive until the time that they are eligible to vote through their entire voting cycle that supports them. Think about it, civics not being taught. Think about it, or what we could do if we had that capacity, if we took the time to build it. 6, expose and destroy the anti-democracy movement. That's what we're doing today. 7, join us. In June of 2020, we're going to have a conference, again, a national conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And we have a planning committee that we're just beginning to convene to build, because what we want to do is connect all those small groups sitting out there, those little counties, underprotected, that need connections, and we're going to build a coordinating council for them. And then, of course, I passed out to you our upcoming October 17th event, Honoring Maximum Max, sing Water Sue is Great. Follow us, and remember always that we win. We win. When do we win? We win when we fight. That's right. We show up and we show out. Thanks so much. So any questions? There is yes, Richard.
Last week I saw Andrea Miller, and she had a whole list of things people can do on the West Coast to help people in the Deep South get their votes. Do you have anything like action sheets that you can pass out or have on the website?
If you go to, once again, a lot of our materials at votingrightsalliance.org, that's our website, but I actually have a PowerPoint. I didn't bring a PowerPoint to do for this presentation, but I have a PowerPoint that has, in its last couple of pages, I'll make sure it's posted, that has how you organize, how average people can organize. I'm writing a book, by the way, going into some of this. But how average people can organize, and it also has a list of what I call fundamental resources that people should just have that are simple, easy to use, that empowers voters.
Yeah, because I know my wife will sit down and write like 50 postcards for people in the Southeast to remind them to register to vote.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you have action items, things like that, so that people in California, which is pretty safe, can still help out in other areas of the country. So you do have things like that too.
Oh yes.
Oh, good.
I mean, in fact, absolutely. Because if you follow me on Twitter, you will see that what I'm doing on Twitter right now is running a campaign to remind people that Monday, the 7th of October, is a voting rights deadline to be able to vote in the Mississippi upcoming November 5th election. And most people don't know that because Mississippi is one of those bad states that requires you to register to vote 30 days out. And Mississippi is one of those states that's so bad that when we ran a command center in 2016, and there were problems with voting at several sites in Mississippi, we called the election office. Guess what, everybody? It was closed. Okay? For that particular set of counties. That's how bad Mississippi is. And of course there's no online registration, forget about that. You gotta get in a car and go to one of their, deeds, record of deeds or other election sites. So it's a mess. So we are really pushing hard there. And of course in 15 days we'll be doing the same thing for Alabama as their election deadline is coming up. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Dan Wolf.
Hi, Dan.
pleased to hear you. Would it assist your, the power of your lawsuits if you were able to equip your canvassers with an app that would allow them to collect the names, personal information, or contact information, reasons why they were not permitted to vote, whole dozens of possible reasons, of course, and to as well elect anonymously their votes so you know the outcome effect of voter suppression? Would such an app help power your lawsuit?
I think it would be helpful, but let me explain that it's not going to capture, everybody that we need. For example, long lines, right? We estimate that 1/3 of everybody who drives up and sees a long line just leaves. They just leave. And the problem is that they're not proud of it. They don't want to tell that story because they feel that they fundamentally should have stayed. So they will not report it. So that's one problem we have, is that a lot of people blame themselves for these barriers that they can't overcome. So if they're, we know that, for example, we knew going into 2016 that 3 million people who have disabilities would not be able to vote. We knew it going into it. It turns out our numbers were low, that it's actually so much more significant than we thought. Again, people feel that it's their fault if they're not able to go into a polling place because it's blocked, or because they didn't have curbside voting, or because, once again, of long lines, etc., and no assistance. So part of the problem is it's like with, the first form of racial discrimination out here is fair housing discrimination. And we know that based on studies that people don't complain because they feel it's their fault. So part of our taking this fight to the street is making sure that people understand that that's not the case. These are real barriers that shouldn't be there, and that they have the right to complain. I'm from Prince George's. I live in Prince George's County. My county probably denied the right to vote 30,000 people this last election. Of course, the media hasn't talked about it. They're not going to. That's, we could spend a whole conference on what's wrong with the media when it comes to talking about these issues. But, and once again, people went to vote and their polling places ran out of ballots. Can you imagine? They ran, Maryland has a paper ballot system, partial, and they ran out of ballots. They had the wrong ballots, and the voters left. And again, they felt that it was their fault because they left, and that they didn't wait the 3 hours that it took for most of those sites to get the proper ballots.
So if those people, if you could reach those people
Yes.
with public education, and they knew that there was an
Exactly.
easy way to report, would that help them?
Absolutely. That's what we need more of.
Then we need to talk, because we're developing that.
Great. And one of the things that I really love all the new electronic systems that are coming up, because we need them. And one of the other things that we're going to try to do this year is to run national voter ed commercials that would be something different, that goes early out before the 2020 elections to remind people about the problems of making sure that that they verify their voting, that they're not purged because of the 17 million people who have been purged, and making sure that they understand that the simplest resolution to purging is you re-register. But that's not true in Oklahoma, right? Because in Oklahoma, if you re-register and you're already registered, they block out both registrations off the board. It's crazy, instead of doing it most recently. So these are the kinds of things that we have to work on, but I agree with you. Thank you. I love that. Thank you for being solution-oriented. That's what we need.
Last question.
So I'm curious about whether or not you have alliances with Stacey Abrams and also with Interstate Crosscheck. And I asked because Interstate Crosscheck, you would be aware that 1.2 million voters of color were taken off the
Of
rolls.
course I am. Greg Powers and I are great friends. Been great friends for years. And we have no idea how close we together, especially in Georgia, in 2018. A lot of, remember, this is my area. This is my lane. So it's and I would just say a big old freeway. But I just, but yes, of course, cross-check is very, very, very important to us. I'm so happy that we're beginning to knock it out in some states. That's because Greg's done such a good job, and so many other allied groups. And as to Stacey Abrams, that's them. I'm sorry, I am not. No, I am not in the Democratic lane. Of course, a lot of people I love and support are Democrats, but my lane is the voter, and it's the voter's race, and that's where I sit.